Hey there, Nopenguin here. I am back. But that's not important, because today we are playing goblins. Not those ones. These ones. That's right, today we are playing the Goblin Rider archetype. Man, these are cool. Goblin Riders are a rank 3 spam strategy that actually synergizes and can search out literally every goblin card they've ever printed. I mean, all of them. But to go into a bit more detail, let's do the card by card. First off, we have our man, Goblin Rider Doug the Assaulter. This is the best card in the deck and one of two cards that we are playing 3-ofs. It reads that while it's in your hand, you can detach material from a monster on the field, and if you do, special summon this card. And if it's normal with special summon, you can add a Goblin Rider spell trap from your deck to your hand. Now, one thing to note, all of them say detach a material from a monster on the field. So if you're going up against an Exceed strategy, you can detach the materials on the monsters your opponent controls to be able to get out your monsters, which is crazy good. Next, we're playing triple Goblin Rider Meanda the Cold-Blooded. Their effect is that if they're normal or special summoned, you can special summon a goblin monster from your hand, except a copy of itself. Now, it says Goblin, not Goblin Rider, so this is one of the many cards that synergize with just any card that's been printed with the word Goblin in it, which we'll get to in a little bit. But importantly, if it's in your graveyard, you can detach a material from a monster on the field to special summon it back from the graveyard, and you can use both of these effects within the same turn. Next, we're playing 2 of Goblin Rider Clutter the Noisy. When summoned, they can target a goblin monster in the graveyard and special summon it to your field. And during your opponent's turn as a quick effect, you can detach a material from the field to special summon this card, which, again, can proc its first effect. Finally, we are playing double Goblin Rider Boon the Mock Speed. This just has the effect as a quick effect from either your hand or graveyard, detach a material to special summon it to the field. And until the end of the next turn after this card resolves, you cannot special summon him at all. Meaning if you use this on your turn to get your plays going, you're not going to be able to use it during your opponent's turn, and vice versa. On the surface, this card seems pretty lame, just a bit of an extender, but with how the deck actually plays, you'll see that this is a very important piece to keep in play. Next, we're doing some extenders, Double Psychic Wielder and Double Psychic Tracker. If you control level 3, you can just special summon these to your field. They are just good extenders to start off our plays. Speaking of which, we are also playing triple Tour Guide from the Underworld. Now, really interestingly here, our Goblin Meanda the Cold-Blooded is a Fiend type. So you can go ahead and use Tour Guide to rip one of them from the deck, detach it for the effects of this, and then be able to use Meanda in the graveyard after it's been sent there as material. This honestly exchanges plays so much, and Tour Guide is almost the best normal summon you can have in this deck. Finally, we are playing 2 Scrap Goblin. That's right, because it has Goblin in its name, this is fully functional to work with the deck. So anytime a card wants to special summon a Goblin from the hand, graveyard, or even add one from the deck, you can search out Scrap Goblin. And just like you would in a Dino build, you use the Scrap link to help facilitate synchro plays. And the fact that it's natively a level 3 really makes it mesh so well with this build. And of course, for the Scrap Wyvern combo, we have 1 Golem. Finally, we are playing triple Ash Blossom for just some hand traps. Moving on to our spells, we have our Goblin Rider spells. First, Grand Assault of the Goblin Riders. This is our search spell. Add a goblin monster from your deck to your hand, then you can detach a material from a monster you control to special summon a goblin in your hand. Not only is this consistency, if you're playing this after you've already gotten your first Exceeds out, this acts as additional extension. And it also has a graveyard effect that you can banish it, detach material from a monster on the field, then grab a goblin monster from your graveyard and add it to your hand. And like everything else in the deck, you could use both of these effects on the same turn. Then we are playing double Grand Meeting of the Goblin Riders. This does a couple of really great things. For starters, it boosts all your goblin monsters for each goblin monster on the field. You gain 300 for each goblin monster on your field. So if you have 5, every single monster you control is going to gain 1500. This is great for catching opponents off guard and going for really quick lethals. But also, it's just a double summon for the deck. You can normal summon a goblin in addition to your normal summon set. If that wasn't enough, you could activate one of the 2 following effects. Target 2 goblins you control, and you could either make them the same level or combine their levels. So if you had a level 4 goblin in this deck, you could target a level 4 goblin and a level 3 goblin and make them both level 4. Or you could combine their levels and make them both level 7. In this deck, we are just using this to make them level 6s. But you can absolutely go crazy with the different combinations with all the different goblins we have in the game. For some protection, we're playing Called by the Grave and Triple Tack, and for consistency, we are playing a Rhoda, a Tenki, and triple E-Telly. The Rhoda is here to search out our Doug, the absolute best draw, and Tanky can search out our Clutter and Scrap Goblin, so you could really use this to grab the piece that you're missing. We're playing triple Infib and Goblin Rider Stampede. This is a continuous trap that has the effect that you could quick Exceed into a monster during the main phase, and if you control a Goblin Exceed monster, you could target effect monster on the field, detach a material, negate that monster's effects. And because it's a continuous trap, you can think of this like an Infib you could activate every single turn. Finally, the extra deck. We are starting with SP Little Knight. Because we use Exceeds in this deck, getting off its banish effect is actually quite easy in this deck. And like mentioned earlier, we have the Scrap Wyvern to help with our Scrap Goblin plays. Onto the rank 3s, we have DDD Stone King Darius. This is so we can convert our tour guide into Mach-E so we can more safely play into established boards. Then we are playing Phantom Knights of Breaksword. This is just a good bit of removal, and because we do play continuous spells in the deck, we could use those as the cards we target to keep the Breaksword on the field. Gossip Shadow is effectively another monster negate, but importantly one that doesn't destroy monsters, so this is really good against the Unchained matchup. Then, the main Goblin boss monster themselves, Goblin Rider Big Head Gagonga. 2 level 3 monsters, and if Exceed summoned, you do not detach, you just get to search out a Goblin monster, which in most cases is going to be our Doug, who will then use its effect to detach a material from our Exceed to search out one of our spells. Most likely, our search spell, which because we still have a material on our Exceed, will detach the final one and get another search and special summon. So you can really see how this deck, just off of a 2 level 3 monster, can extend way past that with absolutely no investment. But that's not even the best part. If a material is detached from a monster on the field, you can target another face-up monster on the field and equip it to this as material. So going back to the other 2 goblins, the 2 that can special summon themselves as a quick effect, during your opponent's turn, if you activate one of these effects to special summon them out, this can then suck a monster on your opponent's field. So it's a very indirect way to interact with your opponent's board in a way that's really not that common or easy to maneuver around. And even if you do the combo I mentioned before and detach all materials from this, during the end phase, you just get to attach one from the deck. So even if you've emptied out all of the Exceeds, he's still going to have one come your opponent's turn. And then our final rank 3 is Ashura King. This guy is low-key amazing. It requires 3+ level 3 monsters, but while it has material attached to it, it can make attacks up to the amount of material it has. But more importantly, as a quick effect, when another monster's effect is activated, you can quick effect detach a material, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. It's just a very easy monster negate, and with how many material it has, it is a glutton for activating my Goblin effects. Then we have Beatrice here as just a really good rank 6, and our other Goblin card, Goblin's Crazy Beast. This is 2+ level 6 monsters, and as a quick effect, you can target a spell trap on the field, detach 2 materials from a monsters on the field, and then attach it to this. Much like Beatrice, this is just a good way to get a quick effect off on a level 6, but like every other Goblin monster, this has a couple more effects. If a monster on your field will be destroyed by a card effect, you can detach a material instead. And even crazier, if this is in your graveyard, you could just special summon it back and then attach a Goblin monster from your graveyard to it as material. And like before I mentioned, we have both Mach-E and AA Zeus. And the 2 synchros we play are the Borreload Savage Dragon for the regular Scrap Wyvern combo, and also Geomathmech Final Sigma. Using the effect of our Grand Meeting of the Goblin Riders, we can target both a Scrap Goblin and any of the other goblins on the field, and make them both level 6, which is perfect to add up to Final Sigma. Honestly, this deck is a load of fun, and if you know anything about me, you know I love decks that are just all gas, and that's exactly what this is. So let's get into those replays. I want to show you how this deck plays. Our first replay is up against Fire King Tri-Brigade. I go first. I have the tour guide, but they do have the Infib. Luckily, I have E-Telly, so I can still get into my rank 3. I'm just going to Exceed Summon here into the Big Head, searching out a Scrap Goblin since I have everything else in hand. Doug will then special summon himself by detaching a material, and search out the Search spell, which will grab another search and detach to special summon Cold-Blooded from hand. Cold-Blooded will then special summon Scrap, and we're going to go right into Ashura King because I felt they had some kind of interaction. Turns out to be the Fire King, and I will negate the kit in the graveyard, and because I detached, I can go ahead and equip this Fire King. Does not destroy it, their effects do not go off. From here, I am just going to go ahead and go into another negation, and at the end phase, we're going to grab something from deck. They don't have a lot to go off of, but they do top deck the Infib, and they're going to go ahead and search out the Abel Star, and we're just going to try to summon it out, but because I have the Gods of Shadow, I can negate the effect, so we just both draw a card, and because I detached, I can suck the Diablo Star, and they have nothing, and we'll concede. Our next replay is up against Kashtira. That's right, Kashtira. They're going to Unicorn. I will go ahead and ash that. They will rip a Little Knight from my deck. They have the Rise Hearts that can go ahead and get off its effect anyways and go for the rank 7 Flare Knight. Yeah, I guess no Rise Heart for us. I just wanted to use this replay to show off that I can detach the opponent's monster's cards to activate my Goblin effects. So even though I haven't committed to any exceeds here, I'm still able to get the additional effects of these cards and go for my own plays off of their material. Now they're just going to concede because they have absolutely no hope out of this, and this could really be any exceeds deck. I just wanted to use this replay to show off how cool this is. Our final replay is up against Plunder Runic. Interesting combination, but they're going to go ahead here, grab the Hugin. I do have the Infib for that, but they discarded the Whitebeard, so they're going to be able to use that effect to grab a Bluebeard from deck. They're going to 1-day AP, so we can't do damage next turn. They're going to point in the Mist Rune to grab the field spell that we stopped them from getting. Then they're going to go into their Blackbeard and activate their Upstart Goblin, getting an additional effect and just passing turn off 2 Runic spells. I'm going to go here, I'm going to scrap Goblin. They're going to use the effect to summon the Pendulum one out. I'm going to Triple Tracks to steal that. They're just going to Raging Storm to get a couple of draws off of the Mystic Rune Fountain, hopefully getting some interaction and getting literally everything that they could ever want. Because they can point the Mist Rune to grab the last bit of interruption they did not have. I want to go into Break Sword just because I want to get rid of this fountain. At this point, they will negate the effect of my Break Sword, which, unfortunate, but it still leaves them with material that I can detach for the Doug. Doug will then go ahead and grab the Searcher. They're going to go ahead and make me discard a card. Luckily, it was only the Searcher, so I'm going to go ahead and get the Double Summon. The Double Summon will go ahead and grab from the graveyard our Scrap. We're going to go into Little Knight. Little Knight's going to banish this. Again, it doesn't matter that we use Little Knight here because we already are under 1 day of peace. Then I'm just going to go for the Scrap Wyvern combo, using our Golem to special summon back to go ahead and get into our Savage Dragon. This is a really cool combo, and I'll just end the piece on another Big Head to go ahead and search out our last bit of interaction. Go ahead and equip something during the end phase, and they are good to go. From here, they're going to 1 day of peace, which is really good. I'll just get that into the graveyard because that works in either hand or graveyard. They're going to Hugin here. I'm going to once again go for the Ash Blossom and go to suck it, but they concede. And that was the deck. God, this is a fun deck. I've seen a couple of different builds for the deck. Some people pairing it with the Punk and Gold Pride engine, just using it as kind of like a rank 3 engine to go into certain things, but I think pure Goblin Rider has a lot of merits to itself. Of course, being able to access a Omni Negate through the Scrap Golem, Scrap Wyvern combo into Borreload is very strong, but just the way that this interacts with the board, so even if you just negate something off of like an Ashura King, that thing that's negated, now I'm going to suck another monster on your field. It's a very hard deck to play around because it really interacts with you in a bunch of different weird ways. And of course, against any Exceeds deck, like for example Purely, this is insanely strong against, because I can detach materials from your monster to start my plays. And I think that's a part that's severely underrated about these guys, that they'll work by themselves if you do not play Exceeds, but if you're playing Exceeds against these deck, you're done. And this is the deck that I came to only after playtesting it for a couple of days. I see that there's a lot of untapped potential here. For example, I left space to have the rank 6 engine in the extra, and frankly, I did not go into these once. I did not see a need to go into these once, so I would gladly remove these cards to make room for some of the crazy shit we're seeing here in our side deck. All in all, this deck is a goddamn blast to play, and I'd recommend anyone to try it out. Here's hoping they're not too expensive once they come over here stateside, but I'm not holding my breath. And if you want to be extra based, you can throw in Penguin Brave. But that's enough for this video. Let me know ideas you have for this archetype, but until then, like if you like, subscribe if you want to see more. I am Nopenguin, Gross Goblin Guy, signing out.